Good morning. I am Councillor Mary Locke and I will be chairing the hearing of Subcommittee C of the Licensing and Public Protection Committee of Birmingham City Council. Before we start, can you all please mute your microphones for the moment in order to improve the sound quality while I still outline the procedure. Can you also please turn off your cameras with the exception of committee members, unless you are the person speaking. This is to reduce the bandwidth. Committee members will check their cameras are switched on throughout the hearing. Okay. Could everyone attending today's meeting please put their mobile phones on silent and ensure that they are situated in a room or environment which is free from distractions or unnecessary noise emanating from radios, TVs, etc. Thank you. I am speaking slowly and clearly so everyone can follow. It is vitally important for what I hope are obvious reasons, that those attending the meeting and making representations are able to hear me and members of my subcommittee and officers. Any distractions brought to my attention could result in the meeting being suspended temporarily or to another date and time under the regulations for this type of meetings. I also confirm that this is a public meeting and therefore being live streamed on the Council's website in order that the general public can view it. It will be webcast for subsequent on the Council's YouTube site, and that members of the press and public may record and take photographs except where there are confidential or exempt items. Members are reminded that they must declare all relevant pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests arising from any business to be discussed at this meeting. If a disclosable pecuniary interest is declared, a member must not speak or take part in the agenda item. Any declarations will be recorded in the minutes of the meeting. Apologies were submitted on behalf of Councillor Nicky Brennan, and Councillor Mike Sharp was the nominated substitute member. Can I also welcome you to this hearing for an application in respect of Sprinkles Dessert, 75 Thornbridge Avenue, B42 2PW. I'll begin with some introductions. My name is Councillor Mary Locke and I'm chairing this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee, and with me are other members of the subcommittee, Councillor Mike Sharp and Councillor Mike Ward. Also present at this meeting are the following officers: Licensing Officer David Kennedy.
Good morning, Chair.
Committee Manager Katie Townsend.
Good morning, Chair.
And Committee Lawyer Joanne Swampalai.
Good morning, Chair.
Could I ask all parties to identify themselves, please? Firstly, the applicant, Wajid Ali. Mr. Ali?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi everyone. Good morning.
Good morning. Next, those making representations, Environmental Health.
Good morning, Chair. My name's Peter Brown. I'm an Environmental Health Officer with Birmingham City Council.
Morning. BCC Licensing Enforcement, Doug Wright.
Morning, Chair.
Councillor John Hunt.
Hello, Councillor John Hunt, Perry Bow Ward.
Good morning. Could I ask if any persons making representation wish to withdraw their representations at this stage? I will assume that all parties have read and understood the Licensing Committee's procedural rules set out within the notice of today's meeting. Please note that given the nature of today's proceedings, I may, at my discretion, amend the procedural rules to reflect that this meeting is taking place online, but wish to assure that you all that any such amendments will not impact on the party's right to a fair hearing. We will be using the chat function in Microsoft Teams to communicate, One of the icons on the toolbar is a speech bubble. Click the speech bubble to go to chat. If you do not have chat, the chat function for any reason, please use the raise a hand function to indicate you wish to speak. The button is usually fourth up from the right on the toolbar. You can also, of course, indicate verbally that you wish to speak at the appropriate time. And you all confirm that you have access to the chat facility by typing your own name. Officers will type their job title. This meeting will not proceed until you all have done so. Has everybody done that? Katie, has everyone done it?
Chair, we're just waiting for the applicant. However, he has confirmed that he is here, so you can probably proceed.
Right. Please keep the chat column open for the entire duration of the meeting in order that everyone can follow the messages being posted in the chat. If any participant has dialed in on an audio telephone rather than Microsoft Teams, please speak now to confirm that you can hear and be heard. With the exception of subcommittee members, please keep your camera off unless you are the person speaking. If there are problems with bandwidth which cause difficulties with sound, I may at my discretion ask everyone to turn their cameras off in order that the meeting can proceed with everyone able to hear and be heard. Does anyone wish to make any preliminary points at this stage? If so, please indicate that you wish to raise a point by typing speak into the chat function or use the raise a hand function now. Thank you. I'll briefly outline the procedure which will be following at today's hearing. Firstly, the licensing officer, David Kennedy, will present the report. Then the applicant will be asked to present their case. We are asking if this could be kept to approximately 20 minutes. Next, those making representations will be able to make their case. Again, approximately 20 minutes will be allowed for this part of the meeting. And I ask all parties to speak slowly and clearly as they possibly can, because the officers are taking notes by hand for the minutes. And the meeting is also being live streamed on the City Council's website. If at any time it is somebody else's turn to speak, please mute your microphone and use the chat function to communicate if necessary. Please note that members of the subcommittee will be able to ask questions at any stage, but will try to do so at the conclusion of each presentation. Cross-examination by the applicant and those making representations will not be permitted unless the members consider it appropriate. Where questions are raised by members of the subcommittee or by those present, they must signify by using the chat facility set out on the right-hand side of the screen. You are viewing this meeting on the meeting manager will alert me if I do not notice the messages in the chat. I will determine verbally or in writing on the chat facility the order in which questions are dealt with. So at any point in the meeting, if you wish to speak, please type the word speak into the chat function and the meeting manager will ensure that we come to you at appropriate moment. If at any point you cannot hear or having problems with your internet connection, please use the chat facility to alert the meeting manager. The chair will then ask the person speaking to repeat what they have just said. It is therefore important that to hear the person. It is important that you you're unable to hear the person speaking, it may well be that the problem is caused by people still having their microphones up or cameras on, which creates interference. So I will remind everyone to please mute their microphones and turn off your cameras when you are not the person speaking. Could I point out occasionally it may be necessary for the subcommittee to take legal advice at my discretion. I may ask all parties to wait in this meeting whilst members and relevant officers withdraw to take legal advice using the separate meeting with Microsoft Teams. We will then return to the meeting and continue. Please note that if at any time the live stream broadcast on City Council's website fails, I will ask you all to mute your microphones and cameras and to stop speaking until the live stream is restored. If at any time this meeting goes into private session, the meeting manager will pause the live stream once the private part of the meeting is over. I will ask the meeting manager to confirm that the live stream has resumed before we continue. At the conclusion of the hearing, I will invite all parties to make a brief closing submission. And I stress that no decision will be taken until all the evidence has been heard. At the decision-making stage, the members and relevant officers will withdraw from the meeting in order to determine the decision. They will go into a separate Microsoft Teams meeting. In the event that the members need to clarify any point, you will be telephoned by the meeting manager. The members will then make their decision and you will be notified of the decision of the subcommittee within 5 working days. I hope that is reasonably straightforward. So with that, can I ask the licensing officer, David Kennedy, to present the report as slowly and clearly as you can, please.
Thank you, Chair. Sprinkles Desserts Lounge Limited applied on the 4th of January for the grant of a premises licence for Sprinkles Desserts, 75 Thornbridge Avenue, Perry Bar, Birmingham B42 2PW. The purpose of the report is to consider representations that have been made in respect of the application, which seeks to permit the provision of late night refreshment to operate from 11 p.m. until 5 a.m. Monday to Sunday, with the premises to remain open to the public from 12 midday till 5 a.m. the following morning, Monday to Sunday. Representations have been received from Environmental Health and Birmingham City Council Licensing Enforcement Team as responsible authorities, which are attached to Appendices 1 and 2. Representations have been received from other persons, which are attached to Appendices 3 to 16. The application is at Appendix 17 and site location plans are at Appendix 18. When carrying out its licensing functions, a licensing authority must have regard to Birmingham City Council's Statement of Licensing Policy and the guidance issued by the Secretary of State under Section 182 of the Act. The authority is also required to take such steps as it considers appropriate to promote the 4 licensing objectives. The options available to the committee today are to grant the licence in accordance with the application, to reject the application, to grant the licence subject to conditions modified to such an extent as considered appropriate, or to exclude from the licence any of the licensable activities to which the application relates. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to make their presentation now, please? Mr. Ali?
Hello.
Hello.
Sorry, my camera's not functioning, so I do apologize. You won't get to see my face. I think that's best for everyone anyway. Yeah, in regards to what the licensing officer said, I have tried to get this issue rectified. We only, the initial application that was made, for some reason, it kept defaulting back to 5 a.m. The time that we were actually applying for was from 11 to 1 a.m. for the opening, because obviously we do want to stay open till 5. No one's going to come around to have desserts at 5 o'clock when they probably half asleep. So the only issue was that I did send a few emails after I think it was an email, but I left it as it was because they said you can bring that up when you go to the hearing. Yeah, and in respect to that, at 11 o'clock anyway, we usually close up shop, the front shop. We only needed the license so we can operate a delivery service only for those 2 extra hours, because that's the peak time of when obviously people order late night food such as desserts and stuff like that, which we've seen as part of our business. I think that's about it from my side for the time being.
Right. So can I clarify what it is, what hours you want again?
Yes. So I did try to get the application amended because the guy that initially submitted it for us, he's got 2-3 dessert shops, and I think he just sort of replicated his one and just sent it forward without details, because I didn't really understand how to fill out the form. But I was to operate only from 11 p.m. till 1 a.m. and that's only on a delivery basis. The shop floor is closed anyway as it is as soon as it hits 10:45, because obviously we don't want any people loitering around, and obviously there's a pub opposite as well. We don't want people to come, and obviously it is a bit of a residential neighbourhood as well.
Right. Are there any questions, Councillor Sharp? You're on mute.
Madam Chair, I couldn't get my mic off. So what hours are we asked? Are we going to 5 o'clock or 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock, Councillor Shaw.
Anything else you want to ask, Councillor Sharp?
I just wondered if we need any legal advice on this. I mean, means we're looking at this report today. How do we stand on that?
Well, Councillor Sharp, it's Mr. Ali has told you that the application is no longer to 5 in the morning. It's from 2300 hours to 1 in the morning, and that's for delivery only from 2300 to 1 o'clock, meaning the shop won't be open to the public. It'll be delivery only from 11 at night till 1 in the morning.
Okay.
Councillor Ward?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Mr. Ali, you're saying that you only want this licence till 1 a.m. now, and you're saying also that it's for delivery only. Can I take it from that there will be no one wishing to collect food from you after 11 p.m? And also, can you tell me how many delivery drivers you would envisage doing deliveries for you after 11 p.m?
Yes, Councillor Ward. Yeah, we'll just retain the same delivery driver. We only operate on a one delivery by a driver basis. We're not obviously we're a new shop, so we're not that busy. But we anticipate we're not gonna have any collection orders. As soon as you can, obviously anyone who lives around there knows that our shutter goes halfway down anyway, and just a matter of the front of the shop is cleaned and they put up the signs, and just the kitchen is operating just for delivery service, and it's only one delivery driver at that period. And most of the time we only open on till 1 o'clock on the weekends anyway, because the rest of the days is school nights and stuff like that, so we don't really tend to stay open.
Will the door to the shop be locked at 11 p.m?
Yeah, we dropped the shutter, the front shutter, and obviously we've got access from the back as well, so we only usually operate deliveries from the back. Car park sort of, it's like a smaller car park at the back, alleyway sort of situation.
Okay, thank you, and thank you, Chair.
Can I just ask, I mean, you say one delivery driver, will it, what about people like Just Eat or Deliveroo or, you know, things like that? Mr. Ali?
Sorry, I was on mute again. Yeah, so Deliveroo, Just Eat are on our own drivers as it is, our own driver, because Great Barr's a bit of a reach from city centre and all these areas where there's a lot of Uber Eats, Deliveroo drivers driving around and stuff, where they can come collect orders, you know, just as part of the thing. So we have to operate our own driver for it.
And you know, I know you say you've got the driver. Will cars be the car be running its engine outside and things like that?
No. As soon as the guy comes by, he parks up. He usually turns his ignition off, comes in, takes the order. Only comes out when the order is ready. Anyway, so obviously we have our own driveway as well. I think the councillor that came to inspect, we know we got our own driveway at the front, and it's in the shopper parades as well. There's shopper parades on one side and the shopper parades on one side. So there's no actual houses right next door to us. You know what I mean? There's a few shops, and then there's a gap, and there's another road, and then the houses start. So hopefully that won't really cause a lot of nuisance for neighbours and stuff. Residential side of it.
Joanne, have you got any questions at all?
Yes, please, Chair. Did Mr. Ali just say that this would only be at weekends? I may have misheard that.
Yeah,
Is the application to only do this at weekends, or is the application for every night?
I want to leave it open to obviously every night if I can, but generally this will only operate from Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It depends on the day as well. If you had a slow day on the weekday, we'd like to at least stay open until about 1 a.m. Try to cover costs and stuff if we can, because obviously, more than everyone, how COVID hit a lot of people, businesses especially.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. I have no more myself. Can those making representations present their case now? Environmental health.
Thank you, Chair. This new news has changed the environmental health's opinion of the application somewhat. We were always supportive of the actual business, and I can see from the reviews online that it's quite popular and well regarded. It was the hours and the potential disturbance to local residents that concerned us. It is a highly residential area, and the shops and other businesses that operate in the area primarily aimed at providing services for local residents, and the area is not typically a part of the nighttime economy. There is one other food premises nearby, Caspian Pizza. They shut at 11 o'clock every night, although they have other branches over Birmingham, and they do shut later at the other branches at midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning, I guess dependent on location. In this location, 11 o'clock seems to me to be a perfectly reasonable time to stay open. In respect of the deliveries, it's come as a bolt out of the blue, really. I don't think we would have too much of a problem with deliveries until 1 o'clock in the morning. The aim of our only aim is the protection of the amenity of the residents, and if the deliveries can be carried out sensitively and without the use of slamming doors and car horns and all the other attendant nonsense that goes with late night vehicle movements, we would be quite comfortable with that, I think. It may need planning permission. Any takeaway food business would need planning permission, which it doesn't currently have because it was a party shop, I think, before. I'm not sure either if there's an extraction system at the back of the premises. They say the shutter's going to come down at 11 o'clock. That means that the delivery driver presumably will be using the rear of the premises for access and to and fro from the shop to his vehicle. If there's an extraction system operating until 1 o'clock, that could impact on residents. I'd like some sort of assurance that won't be the case. Apart from that, I'm just looking through my notes here. I don't think we'd have too much of an issue with 11 o'clock, 7 days a week, and deliveries until 1 o'clock, particularly on a Friday and Saturday night. I'm not sure how much demand there'll be for waffles at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday, but that's a business decision, I guess. And the delivery hours, again, up to the panel, but I don't think environmental protection would lose a lot of sleep if deliveries were permitted until 1 o'clock in the morning. And that pretty much sums it up. What I had prepared no longer applies, because 5 o'clock in the morning we would have strongly objected to.
That's it.
And that's my submission. Thank you very much.
Councillor Sharp, have you got any questions?
No, thanks, Chair.
Councillor Ward?
No questions, thank you, Chair.
Okay, I don't really have any questions either. We'll go on to licensing enforcement. Doug Wright?
Thanks, Chair. I'm very much the same as environmental health. If the shop is going to close at 11 o'clock and the shutters are going to be down, I would not have any, the representation I was going to make, because 5 o'clock I thought was too late, but if it's shutting the shop at 11 o'clock, sorry, and 1 o'clock deliveries, I wouldn't have any issues with that whatsoever.
Okay, any questions, Councillor Sharp?
No, thanks, Chair.
Councillor Ward?
No questions, thank you, Chair.
We'll go on to Councillor Hunt.
Thank you, Chair. And again, can I welcome Mr. Alley's amendments to the application? If you can specify that in the licence and that closes its front door to customers at 11 p.m, it would seem to me to satisfy the concerns which have been raised. Perhaps I would just set out a little bit of the context for you that I was going to present about Thornbridge Avenue, so you can get a feel for the environment. It is a lovely little shopping centre with great potential, and I certainly welcome the opening of this business on the premises. A place where people can come and have coffee together is fantastic, and there was huge alarm in the community about the proposed overnight opening hours. It does nestle close to housing, has large numbers of flats above the shops, and it sits opposite a large residential complex for the elderly. So and anything that creates antisocial behaviour can cause a problem, and overnight it would have been very, very concerning. In particular, because it's very quiet at night and it's a broad avenue with a wide central reservation, attracting traffic seeking out leisure facilities in the middle of the night would have been very concerning. It would have the risk of people racing up and down the avenue would have been huge in those circumstances. So hopefully that will all be spared. And if you can embed Mr. Alley's changes, then let's hope that Sprinkles has a good future on Thornbridge Avenue.
Is that it, Councillor Hunt?
That's it, thank you.
Okay. Any questions, Councillor Sharp?
No, thanks, Chair.
Councillor Ward?
No questions, thank you, Chair.
And there's none from me either. Joanne, have you got any?
No, thank you, Chair.
Right. Now, those making representations wish to make a closing submission. Councillor Hunt?
No, that's fine, thank you.
Doug Wright?
Nothing more to add, Chair, thank you.
Peter Brown?
No, thank you, Chair. Nothing to add.
Finally, does the applicant wish to make a closing statement, Mr. Alley?
Yes, just a quick one. I just want to say I do apologize for everyone who probably had to go through, make reports and stuff like that, objections up to 5 o'clock. If you had this earlier, you would have saved a lot of people time. Obviously, with yourselves, you busy individuals, but I do apologize for all the, if there's been any issues from our side with the 5 o'clock opening. Sorry, everyone. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I will now ask all parties to leave the Microsoft Teams meeting, and the members and committee lawyer and committee manager will go to the private session while the committee makes its decision. You will be notified of the decision of the subcommittee within 5 working days. Thank you all. Can you